Welcome to our new unit, Unit 10. We are going to be talking overall in this unit about, it's titled Evolution. There are a lot of topics we're going to cover. First of all, the big question, where did life come from? So that is really the big question here that we're going to start with. Before we even address it, we're going to talk about, well, before life came from somewhere, we had to have an earth on which the life could originate. So where did Earth come from? That's what this little section will start with. As we continue in the unit, we're going to look more at geologic time and fossil records. We're also going to look at not only how did life begin, but how did life come to be so diverse? How did we get the incredible diversity of structure and function in organisms that we see around us and that we see in the fossil record? How did that happen? We're going to look at mechanisms for that. We're going to also take just a little bit of an introductory section on population genetics and calculating allelic frequencies. So hopefully this will be an exciting unit. And let's get started with the first big question. Where did life come from? Well, we know life cannot be older than Earth itself. There had to be an Earth here first. So what do we know about the origin and age of the Earth? And what do we know about the universe itself? Let's first look at the really big picture, the universe. Great big universe. One idea you've probably heard proposed is that the universe is expanding. How do we know that? That's something I'd like to explain to you a little bit here. I'd like you first to just think about waves. You've all probably studied some things about waves in middle school, and remember how waves propagate, how they move through their medium. Consider sound waves, for example. You can't see them, but if you could, they might look, here's a little boom box here where you could see these sound waves that go out from the source. What if something is moving and you have, say, an ambulance and it's got a siren going, that woo, siren on and on and on, right? But it's moving. So therefore, the sound waves that it's producing and that are emanating from the siren, something is going to happen to those waves as this ambulance moves. As it's moving in this forward direction, these waves in front of it are going to be compressed, and the waves behind it will be lengthened. We know this too by if you're behind the siren or if you're in front of it as it moves, in front of the ambulance as it's moving, the sound is different and you can hear the difference in that sound with your ears. Light does the same thing. Light, if you'll recall from science, has both a particle nature and a wave nature. And if we look at the wave nature of light, it does this same thing. This is called the Doppler effect, by the way. So if you want to look into that, research the Doppler effect a little more. It's really interesting. It has some fun implications. But light does the same thing so that if light is traveling toward you, it will produce what is called a blue shift. And if it's traveling away, you will see a red shift. You'll actually see the red light. So we know, this is how we know the universe is expanding, is because measurements of the wavelengths of light from very, very distant galaxies are consistently redshifted. So how did the universe first come to be? Well, right now, the theory that scientists have proposed, the Big Bang Theory, and that's not the TV show, it's the Big Bang Theory, how the universe originated and how it began, is estimated to have been roughly 15 billion years ago. And the idea being that the universe was concentrated into an intensely super dense mass that exploded. And on that explosion, matter was then spread throughout space, and gravity at that point was able to pull some of the matter together to form different galaxies and stars. Remember, gravity is simply the attraction between matter. So if you have different clumps of matter that are attracted together, they might cluster around, maybe forming, then when our solar system was formed, forming the different planets around our own star, the sun, as we call it. That's estimated about 5 billion years ago. The best current estimate on when the Earth was formed is about 4.6 billion years ago. It says 4.5 up here, but 4.6 is the more common current estimate. And how do we know some of this, or what are scientists basing these ideas on? It sounds pretty abstract, especially when we're talking about billions of years ago. That's a long, long time. And some of these estimates are coming from meteorites, oldest rocks from the moon that have been dated and looked at for, we're going to talk about that a little bit later, about radiometric dating and how that actually takes place, how scientists do that. But those are where these estimates are coming from. So that is really, in a nutshell, the Big Bang timeline. So on this newly formed Earth, what might it have been like? And this is a question scientists have asked for a very long time. What were the conditions of early Earth? Likely very, very hot. How do we know that? There are a lot of reasons that we think that the Earth was extremely hot initially. For one, the gravitational compression that was occurring as these clumps of matter were attracted to each other, and because of that gravitational attraction, they clumped together to form the Earth, the mass that it is. That compression produces a lot of heat. Also, heat is produced from atoms of radioactive isotopes. They release energy to their environment when they break down, producing heat as well. A lot of that would have been happening. And when we see that happening today, we see that heat is released in that way. There were likely there was a lot of volcanic activity at the time. That volcanic activity, and as the Earth was cooling, simply just the cooling process itself, a lot of gases would have been formed. So the very early atmosphere of Earth would likely have contained some of these elements: nitrogen, carbon dioxide, water vapor, hydrogen. And scientists think that that is a distinct possibility simply because today those are the common gases that are released from volcanic activity. There is there is speculation also that a little bit of ammonia and methane could have been present initially in Earth. However, we don't know that. But if it was present, ammonia is quickly broken down by sunlight. Sunlight would have broken all of the ammonia down into nitrogen and hydrogen atoms. So if there was ammonia present, it would not have lasted very long. Now, something interesting. Scientists also believe due to the evidence available, there was very little, if any, oxygen. The oxygen was just not present in this early Earth atmosphere, which would make one think, wow, how did life begin? But remember, when we studied cellular respiration, we can have aerobic or anaerobic cellular respiration, right? So probably the first life forms would not have been aerobic. They would have been some kind of anaerobically respirating life forms if there was not oxygen. It is thought that, initially the oxygen present in the environment would have been bound up in the carbon dioxide. Carbon dioxide molecules have oxygen atoms in them, but they're bound. They're not just pure oxygen in the atmosphere. Probably the first pure oxygen in the atmosphere came about after photosynthetic organisms had come into existence and were producing it. And we'll talk about the geologic timeline a little bit later. This is about when that is thought to have taken place, about 2.1 to 2.4 billion years ago, for photosynthesis to begin to occur. So in these conditions, how in the world does life begin? They seem very harsh, very difficult for life to start in this hot environment with these hot volcanic gases floating about and not even any oxygen. How does life start? Well, that's the cliffhanger question for you. You will have to tune in to the next video and watch that and see how life began. If you want some advanced ideas, here's a few advanced ideas. You could also look at the Doppler effect, look into that a little bit more and how that happens. Study waves, study gravity. Look at gravity. There's some interesting ideas here that we don't always connect with biology. They're a little bit more connected with physics or geology or earth science. And so if some of these interest you, please go do some research into those and come back, show me what you find, and I look forward to seeing you in class.